Good morning, good morning, good morning. If it is indeed morning, when you are, as promised, a Greek myth with some challenge ideas coming at the end of it. So if you do want some extra stuff to sink your teeth into, here it is. So this is Pandora's box. One morning, Zeus awoke to the delicious smell of freshly baked bread. He'd spent all night at a party with the other gods, was feeling rather tired and grumpy. "Hestia, bring me some of that bread for my breakfast," he shouted, somewhat rudely. His sister was the only one of the gods who ever did any baking. Hestia's puzzled face appeared around the door. "Don't know who's making bread, but it's not me," she said. "Who else can it be?" grumbled Zeus, getting out of bed. He followed the smell out of the palace to a gap in the clouds. When he peered down through it, his face darkened with anger. Dotted across the world below, like little red flowers, were hundreds and hundreds of merrily burning fires. Zeus roared with rage. "Humans aren't supposed to have fire," he bellowed. "Only we gods have the power to handle it properly." He stormed down to earth immediately and seized the first man he came to by the scruff of his neck. "Who gave you fire?" he demanded. Prometheus, the Titan," the man blurted, turning pale. "That troublemaker," Zeus muttered. "I might have guessed." He dropped the man in a heap on the ground and charged away. Prometheus was at home eating breakfast with Epiphanes, his brother, when Zeus burst through the door. "How dare you give the humans fire?" he thundered. Epimetheus leapt to his feet in alarm, but Prometheus didn't look the slightest bit worried. "Why shouldn't they have fire?" he asked, rolling his eyes. "I felt sorry for them shivering with cold on dark nights, and I could tell they were tired of eating nothing but raw food." Zeus turned purple and looked as though he might explode. "It wasn't yours to give," he roared. "You must have stolen it." "Yes, that was easy enough," Prometheus boasted. "Yesterday, while you gods were at your party, I lit a stalk from the sun and carried it down to the earth." He smirked and added, "I taught the humans how to use fire and how to keep it going. Can't take it back now." That was more than Zeus was prepared to stand for. I'll teach you how it feels to have something stolen," he shouted. He grabbed Prometheus by the arm and began to drag him out of the house. However defiant he was feeling, Prometheus was no match for a god. "Farewell, brother," he called to Epimetheus. "A word of warning. Don't take anything for the gods unless you're prepared to face the consequences." Zeus took Prometheus to a mountain and chained him there. "You can stay here and take your punishment until you're sorry," he said. Every day, a giant eagle sent by Zeus would swoop down on the Titan. Slowly and agonizingly, it would peck out his liver. But although this would have been painful enough to kill anyone, Prometheus did not die. Every night, his liver grew back, only for the eagle to arrive the next morning and peck it out all over again. Amazingly, Prometheus didn't regret what he'd done. "You can torture me until the end of time," he yelled up at the clouds. "I won't ever be sorry." Zeus called all the other gods to a meeting in Olympus and told them what had happened. He was furious with the humans for accepting the gift of fire from Prometheus and come up with a way to punish them. Working together, the gods sculpted a perfect woman's figure out of clay. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, showered her with beauty. Zeus's daughter, Athena, dressed her in a shimmering gown, and Hermes, Zeus's son, hid a bundle of curiosity in her heart. Then the gods all breathed life into her. The woman's eyes flickered open, and she looked around in wonder. "Who are you?" she asked. "We are the gods," Zeus answered. "Your name is Pandora. You are to be the wife of a Titan named Epiphanes." He pressed into her hands a large decorated box. "This is a wedding present," he said. "You may keep it in your house, but you must never open it." "Why not?" Pandora asked. "What's in it?" "It's time for you to go now." "Oh, sorry, wrong. It's time for you to go now," Hermes told her, ignoring her question and briskly taking her arm. "I'll escort you to your husband's house." When Epiphanes opened the door of his house to find a beautiful woman and a smiling god standing on the doorstep, his brother's warning vanished entirely from his mind. Come in," he said to his guests. He and Pandora got along wonderfully. In fact, they were so in love, after an hour of meeting one another, they arranged to get married that very day. When the wedding celebrations were over and the couple went home, Epiphanes noticed the decorated box. "Where did that come from?" he asked his wife. "It's a wedding gift from Zeus," Pandora replied, picking up the box and staring at it wistfully. "He gave it to me before I'd even met you, and said we must never open it." "Then we should do what he says," Epiphanes said firmly. He took the box from her and placed it on a shelf. Pandora nodded, but she couldn't help wondering what was inside it. The next time she was alone in the house, she picked it up again and held it in her lap, tracing the decorations on the lid with her fingers. What use is a box we can't open? She asked herself. When her husband came home, she put it back hurriedly and said nothing. One morning, a few days later, she was waving goodbye to him through the window when the box caught her eye again. He sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her for a while. Her curiosity burned inside her. Perhaps Zeus meant I shouldn't open it before I was married, she said to herself, and she took the box down from the shelf. What harm could it possibly do if I just have one little look? Took a deep breath and opened the lid, a tiny crack. A terrible screeching filled the air and the contents of the box burst out, flinging the lid from her hands. Pandora watched helplessly as hundreds of writhing, horrible things billowed into the air. There were things that people had never experienced before. War and disease, hatred, malice and jealousy. They whirled around, filling the room, and then seeped out of the open window and spread into the rest of the world. For a few moments, Pandora was unable to move. She sat staring at the box, numb with despair at what she had done. Then, as she watched, one last little thing fluttered out. It was pretty and delicate, and not like all the other things. It flew up out of the window and into the sky, leaving a trail of light behind it. Pandora watched it fly away, and despite herself, she felt her heart lift. The very last thing that had come out of the box was hope. So, from that moment, though life on earth would never be easy again, no matter what terrible hardships they had to endure, people never gave up hope. So that's the end of that one. If you want to do something with that, obviously you could just do a simple retelling. You could write down the main points and do your own little version of that story. You could do a story map. You could do a story map where you sort of illustrate, again, the main points of the story across on a line. You could draw, you could just draw any picture from it. Or you could actually draw Pandora's box itself. So have a think about what that box might look like. And then inside the box, you can have either the words of all the different evil things that come out of it, or you could represent them in pictures. So those are a few things you could be doing with that. Let us know how you get on. I think from the Zoom that I had with my class yesterday, I know that as soon as I mentioned Greek myths, a lot of people grabbed their Greek myth books and started holding them up. And I think I did mention that what was quite nice about having the different Greek myths, different books and everything, is each telling the story can be slightly different. Because I think there's quite a nice version of the Pandora story where she slammed the lid back on after all the evil stuff's got out. And there's one last thing in there that's kind of asking to be let out. She doesn't want to do it, but it sort of persuades them, and it turns out that that's hope. Which I quite like the way that that they do that. So maybe in some of the other Greek myth books you have at home, there might be differences. There might be slight differences in the tellings of the stories. And if there are, you could even sort of make a sort of a list. Could split a page down the middle, and on one side have similarities, and on the other side differences, or just talk about it. So there you go. So what we'll try to do is, fingers crossed, schedule allowing, get another one up of these up a day. Certainly, we'll try to get like maybe 4 a week. And so that if that is useful to people, we'll carry on doing that. But let us know if it's useful, or you can just use it as story time. You don't have to the challenges for the book particularly. So there you go. Hope everyone is keeping safe and well, and we shall see you when we see you. Take care.